Hare Krishna. We would like to welcome all the devotees for today's interview with Her Grace Yamuna Priya Mataji. Yamuna Priya Mataji is a very lively, jolly, happy devotee, and she has been staying in Vrindavan since a few years now. And one small thing which maybe Mataji actually doesn't also know, which I noticed one time which really impressed me was we were talking something, and then Mataji all of a sudden she had to the conversation was finished, so she said to herself that okay, what should I do now? And then she was like, okay, I'll do parikrama for the temple. So that was really interesting. It really made me feel that she is trying to utilize all her time in different limbs of bhakti, and doing parikrama of the temple is one of them. So that was very very interesting and something which I really liked. I have never mentioned that to her before, but that is something.
Taken me by surprise by mentioning that.
But so thank you very much, Mataji, for finally agreeing to do the interview. So we'll start with your childhood, Mataji. Can you please tell us something about where you were born and how was your childhood like?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this wonderful service. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you and have this little time together.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's such a pleasure to have all the devotees come here and tell us about themselves. It's a very nice way for others to take inspiration, because everybody has a different story and they have something interesting to tell always.
That's true. Even when I've been listening to the interviews that you've been taking, I've been finding them very inspirational myself. So I agree with you. So your first question is
where you were born and how was your childhood?
Right. So I was born in England, in proper London, Hammersmith, actually, in 1970. And I was in England for 8 years, till the age of 8. And then kind of my life took a big turn. My father passed away unexpectedly with 3 brothers and sisters, about 1.5 years apart from each other. I'm the youngest. So that had a big impact on all of us, my mum and the 3 of us. So I would say life was of a certain way when my mum and dad were there. My dad was there. And then when my father passed away, that things changed a little bit, of course, needless to say. I mean, it can have a heavy impact on the younger ones.
Definitely, yeah.
Unless you're a really little child that you don't understand. So then after that, the rest of my childhood was spent in India. I consider myself really very fortunate that I have wonderful parents, relatives. I call them my parents, my maternal side of the family. So in 1978, we all shifted to India. We came to India. Delhi. Mm-hmm. That's where my maternal side of the family is, my mother's side of the family. And yes, I had a very protected, loving, very sheltered upbringing. So there was my mama, my mommy, like my mother's brother and his wife, and my nana nani were there. And so my mom's 2 brothers. So it was like a big joint family, actually. And then their children as well. So it was like a nice big family, joint family. These days it's difficult to find joint families.
Yes, yeah.
So it has so much of an advantage is there when you're in a joint family.
The whole support system, everyone supporting each other.
Exactly. You said it better. Yeah, the whole support system, and just the dynamics of the family also, how you all interact with each other. And so it was a very loving, sheltered, beautiful upbringing that I had. So yes, like that. And then I did my education also in Delhi. So that's briefly my childhood.
So were your parents, I mean all Indian parents are in some way or the other usually a little bit spiritually inclined, but how much were you exposed to any kind of religion when you were a kid?
Yeah, when I was in England, when we were in England, I remember that my father used to have a Bhagavad-Gita. It was like a, rectangular, small, thick book. Maybe you're aware, I don't know, maybe your mom and dad your mom being Indian, she may know that, in those days, Urdu was used quite a lot. So his Gita was in Urdu.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and my Nanaji, my grandfather, he was also very fluent with Urdu, reading it. In fact, my mother-in-law, she also reads in Urdu. So I remember that my father had a Bhagavad-Gita, and it was in Urdu. And there was a picture of Krishna that I recently saw on the internet again, going back into the 70s, So and my father used to read the Gita every day. He was a very hardworking, very sincere soul, but he used to read the Gita every day. So that was when I was in England. And then when I came to India, I would say that the biggest spiritual influential person in my life was my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, my Nani. She was a devout Rama Bhakta.
Acha.
And in fact, her name was Ram Murthy.
That's a nice name.
Yeah, it's a sweet name. And she was just as sweet as her name. Very angelic, very devotional, very duty-bound. And with all her responsibilities, she would make her prime focus, I grew up seeing, was her spiritual life. And so I remember from my childhood days how she would wake up in the morning. She was connected to one organization which is based in Gwalior, I think. I think it's called Anandpur Sahib, something like that. And she would visit there whenever she could. But like we have ISKCON, she had her local, kind of temple where she would go regularly. And I grew up seeing her lifestyle, like all the qualities I mentioned of her, but how she was spiritually very, very strong. And in the midst of all the duties that she was performing towards the household, she was actually the rock, the pillar of the family, keeping everybody really close, tight together. But her spiritual focus was untouched by anything, So I grew up seeing her reading the Ramayana every day. She would not eat anything, though she would serve, but she would not eat anything till she's done her puja part. And she led a very sattvic life. And whenever there would be, I remember in our home there was an altar, and everybody was there, all the demigods. Their pictures were there, and there was a Laddu Gopal as well, who I never paid so much attention to. So anything would come in the house, like mithai ka dabba or something, the first thing she would do is offer it to the Lord. So I remember as a little girl, I would just always be standing right next to her, and she would be singing this bhajan she used to sing, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Hey Krishna, Hey Yadav, Hey Sikriti. So she was the one I first heard it from. So I grew up seeing all of that, and so I would say she was the biggest spiritual influence for me. Yes,
that's really nice. I mean, that's not just a little bit. That's quite a good ideal that she set in front of all of you for having a spiritual life besides your duties, and that's really nice. Yeah,
she never imposed anything on us. Excuse me. Actually, she never imposed it on us. She was just letting us be. But the way she was, that was such a beautiful example that I naturally felt attracted to.
Achar is the best prachar. So she was doing it, and then So just by seeing her, it would have some impact on all of you.
Right.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So how and when and where did you do your higher education?
So because, from the age of 8, I was in Delhi. I did all my, my school, all the primary education was done in Delhi, in Punjabi Bagh. And we have a Punjabi Bagh ISKCON temple there as well. But at that time, I wasn't so much aware of that, So I wasn't into it. So my schooling was done there. And then my graduation and then a higher diploma, etc., whatever, what I did was in Delhi as well, from Delhi University. So I graduated in science with computing as my main subject. And then I did systems management course alongside of that. And that kind of completed my education. So yeah, that was just the academic side of it.
Then how did life go ahead? After that, what happened?
Well, before that, a lot happened actually
Okay.
as well.
You joined the temple during your in India, or when did you join?
Yeah. Well, what happened was that I was, maybe I could say spiritually inclined, but I was very inquisitive about life in general. From an Indian point of view, a young age of 16, because otherwise in the West, 16 is considered, people are going out, they're working, etc. It's a different kind of, upbringing. But in India, we have a very sheltered, protected life. So
16 is young.
16 is like, sort of young. But I saw certain things in my life and had certain experiences that begged me to ask the question, what am I here for? And what is my life about? What is the goal of my life? I would question everything I was doing. Like, why am I studying? Maths was such a tough subject for me. It still is. I was never good with numbers. And I wanted to know, why am I studying maths? What is to be gained from it? Like, you go to school, you carry your big heavy bags in India, you're doing all your homework, studying. I wanted to know, where is this leading me to? But more so from a spiritual point of view, I wanted to understand, what is the goal of my life? Yes, I wanted to understand who I am. Like that. So in college, I remember my friends used to say, because, I was in Delhi, so they would speak in Hindi and they would say, "Baap re, tu to bahut bade baatein karti hai." So some of my friends would say that to me, because otherwise I'm like kind of, my general lively self, whatever. And then I would sometimes, we have certain other type of conversations spiritually, kind of with the spiritual slant. So then they would say, "Oh my God, where is all this coming from?"
What happened to you all of a sudden?
Yeah. So I was looking for meaning, the real meaning of life. I just didn't want life to just pass me by, just like this, studying and then later working. So your question was that what happened after that. So after I finished my education, when I was in Delhi, the three of us, our brothers and sisters, the three of us, we were on a visa because we were born British citizens.
So you had a British passport.
British passport. So my Nanaji, I remember he would go to Connaught Place ITO and he would get like our visas renewed every 5 years. So when I kind of grew up and I began to think for my own self, I knew that I wanted to go back to England and just then make my own sort of decision, what I want to do in life, like that. So in '94, my brother had already moved, both my brothers had already gone back to England. And then my brother came and then he took me also. So in '94, I shifted back to the UK after a long gap of 16 years, a long period of 16 years. Yeah.
Very loving brother, huh? He came and took you back to England.
Yes. It was
really
like
nice.
that. He knew that I was ready to kind of go back, and I was ready for a change now, just to explore life like that. So, so then he came, and
so before you went back to England, were any of your spiritual questions ever answered, or?
Well, this happened that, my brother, he lives in Mayapur, he's a devotee. He was the first one to come to Krishna consciousness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of a background, when I was, after my college, I was doing my higher diploma in systems management. I remember that he would tell me about his exciting life in ISKCON, that he's going to Belgium. He's a percussionist, so he plays drums. And he would go there and there attend festivals and play drums, and he's going to this place, that place, and he's having a lot of fun. So I thought, wow, this sounds so exciting.
Yeah.
So he was sharing all of those things with me, and I was already at that stage in my life where I was questioning things more and more. So I was very much attracted to the sort of fun-filled life that he was leading. And I made it a point, I was saying that, emails, we didn't have email system at that time.
Yeah.
The internet was unknown. It was not discovered yet, maybe. And so we used to exchange letters, So I would get like letters from him in the post, and I would write to him. And I remember he sent me a picture of Radha Gopinath from Belgium, from Radhadesh. So I had that stuck on my cupboard, my books cupboard. And so somewhere in my heart, the seed was sown that this is very exciting. And then when he came to visit us in India, and he would come often, once during those trips, he took us to the Greater Kailash Temple. Yeah,
okay.
and I remember my Nanaji went, all of us went, and it was just such a wonderful experience. And I remember having prasad there. So I think that was my very first exposure. Then after that, it was just a visit, didn't think so much about it or do anything about it. And then many years later, in '94, like I said, I went back. So I forgot the question.
My question was actually whether the questions you had, special questions, were answered or not.
Yes.
But then this leads on to how did you really join? So.
Yes. So what happened was that when I was in Delhi, so that was my first exposure to ISKCON. But if I go a few years back, when I was in Delhi growing up, I used to ask my Nani tons of questions. And then it would reach a point where she would satisfy, then I would have more, then she would satisfy me. But then sometimes a point would come where she didn't have the answer for it. So, but then she would say to me, "Ab tu tark kar rahi hai." And I would say, "No, but I just want to know, I can't remember those questions, but I remember this part." But I did get some questions answered, but I had a whole bag full of questions that were unanswered. So going back to fast forward into the years then, in '94 when I came to England, maybe I can just say that how then I got connected with ISKCON. So I was spiritually very actively seeking spiritual life. In India, I couldn't find that, surprisingly. And I wanted to go to the mosques, I wanted to go to the churches, I wanted to really explore and find out, what they have to say. Somehow that didn't manifest while I was in India. So when I went to England, I started going, the first place I did go to the temple, the manor, but then it was just very new for me. So then I also went to the church, and I would attend their Sunday service with my brother. And we attended a few of those and got to know a few of the people there. And they also have their weekly satsangs. So I attended some of those. They would read from the Bible. And they were very loving, actually. But truthfully speaking, their philosophy was that it is this way or no other way. So when it came to that, during one particular, session, I could not accept that. I'm from a science background. I threadbare. I don't take things just on face value. I never have. So I could not accept that. But they could not accept the fact that I'm not willing to just blindly accept this. So that brought about my end with the kind of,
In your interest in Christianity.
Interest in Christianity. In fact, actually, I was just exploring. So I was also going to the temple, but this had already started before that. So then, because I was also going to the temple, I wasn't just blindly going to go into the temple and just that's it. I was doing both things parallel because
checking your options.
Yeah, I was checking because this was my time for the first time in my life where I had the opportunity to do that. So I wanted to I wanted to explore. So then I was also going to the temple, and these lifetime of questions that I had, which were like a big mountain for me, got answered in 3 hours flat.
Wow, all of them?
Yes, by one devotee, just 3 hours flat. And then I was so dumbstruck by that they were just very easy questions for them. But so that left a big impact on me. It affected me in a very beautiful way that, wow, it's so easy for them to give answers to these questions. And I can't remember the questions now, but So like that, that's what happened. So then my interest grew more and more in ISKCON, and then everything was from there to now. How many years? 25. 1994, I did go to the temple. The day I landed, the next day I did visit the manor. So I think everything in between is, like they say, history. So yes, my answers. My questions all got very deeply answered coming to ISKCON. And then I only had more questions, and I realized that haven't even scratched the surface yet. There is so much. And I can say that to date, I'm still finding newer and newer things.
And there's still so much more.
There's still so much more. It's like you haven't even scratched the surface all these years. Gained so much, got so much more clarity, and it's like you're diving deeper. Now a new door is opening, and then further a new door is opening to this bottomless, never-ending ocean of knowledge. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. So that 3 hours discussion which you had with that one devotee, did that just immediately make you a devotee? Like you started coming to the temple regularly, you started putting tilak or following the program, something like that? Or?
Well, I never thought of it that way, but I could say that yes, it attracted me more. It got me. That became the hook, actually, because I was looking for answers and I got them. And then, yes, I was visiting the manor like every weekend because I started working. I found my job, and yes, the visits to the temple were the highlight of the whole week because there's just so much culture and full of so much fun. The music. I got attracted to Krishna consciousness, just the lifestyle of the lifestyle in Krishna consciousness. For me, the attractive things were like the prasad, the kirtans, the dancing that we would do on a Sunday. Slowly, it so became that my whole weekend in England, you get like 2 days off, Saturday and Sunday, it's not just a one day. So both days then slowly began to get spent at the temple, wanting to go more and more and getting more and more involved. So it did so happen that I began to get more involved, and all the community was so loving as well. That they were always encouraging, especially to the newcomers, And my brother had been connected with that temple for so long, so they were like, "Oh, so this is your sister? Oh, yeah, you look alike, And they were very welcoming to me. So I got a lot of love and affection from them as well. And just attending the programs there, the kirtan, the prasad, the dancing. I would dance so much that the next day going to work, I remember how my calf muscles used to hurt like anything, and the feet were so sore. But we were just dancing our hearts out because you couldn't resist it. So yes, then it just became part of my life, and then slowly just took on to it. I knew that actually, I should share this, that I knew very quickly that this was the path I was looking for. Because the whole philosophy is so scientific, and I somehow have that kind of a brain, where I need to understand things in a very logical, systematic manner. So there was nothing that was kind of unanswered. If anything, it was just deepening it and revealing to me more that there's more to know. So that really attracted me. That was the main reason why I got attracted, apart from the fun side of it.
We would like to also mention to everyone that Mataji is a very good singer.
Hardly.
A very, very good singer. Sometimes Mataji sings in Prabhupada house as well. And we have a few videos of Mataji also on our YouTube channel, if anybody wants to go and hear her singing. Next question is, what about your second brother? You said you have two brothers.
Yes.
One of them was there with you as a devotee, and the other one?
So that's our eldest brother. Unfortunately, he didn't. He's not connected with ISKCON, and somehow, unfortunately, the things that happen in our lives, like our father passed away and my mother became quite sick after that. And he was the first child, so he was the eldest of us, out of us three. He took it he took it very hard upon him. He couldn't quite fit into the Indian scene, lifestyle, etc., because maybe he was already. He must have been, I was 8, so he must have been around,
12,
10,
13.
11 something, 11 I think. So he took it very hard, and he lived a few years in India, and then he went back to England, quite a young age.
He's still in England?
He's still in England. And we keep in touch, but there's huge years of gaps. So he kind of drifted away from the family also. He was very, very keen on wanting to explore his own life, and so he did a lot of studies. He did PhDs in different subjects, learned music, jazz, plays a trumpet.
Music runs in the family, yeah? He plays the trumpet, your brother is a percussionist, you're a singer?
Actually, my mum had a beautiful voice. She used to sing. And my mama, who is like my father, he's been a very influential person in my life. He's very deeply spiritual in his own way. And to date, I get a lot of guidance from him about life in general. A very practical person, has a heart like a deep ocean, very loving, very giving, and my mommy also. So they're like my mom and dad, so to speak. Not so to speak, actually speaking. So he's into music, and I forgot to mention this, that during in our childhood, growing up years, whenever there was a birthday party in the house, and it was a joint family, so everybody's birthday would get celebrated, and it's like kind of every other month there is a birthday celebration going on. I have fond memories of all of them, and then the extended family, the relatives, they would also come, and my mommy would cook up a big, huge, gorgeous feast. So, and one of the things that used to happen was singing. So that my mama would go around, everybody's got to sing now.
So training was going on from the childhood, huh?
He was very encouraging, yes. And we used to have fun like that. So, yeah. So I guess some of that is there in the family somewhere. I think it comes from my maternal side, and actually my father's side, my uncle, my chacha, he's got a beautiful voice. He sings very well as well. And my mom's mama, my mom's uncle, so my mom's brother, he used to sing for All India Radio.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a really musical background there.
Yeah,
Huh?
I think it's
just there in the blood.
Whatever the tiny incy bit I have is coming from them. I mean, I don't consider myself a singer or anything, but I like to sing somehow. So, where were we?
We were discussing about your brother.
Yeah, so he's there in England, and once I managed to take him to the manor as well. And but he leads his own different kind of life. But
everybody has
spiritual.
their choice. Okay.
He's spiritual in his own way. Yeah,
that's nice. So, how did you meet your husband, and how was?
Well, it was like this: that when I came to Krishna consciousness, and I knew very quickly that this was what I was looking for, and I don't need to look any further. I wasn't kind of thinking of getting married just at that time, but I knew that I would only want to marry somebody who would help further my spiritual life, who would guide me further. So it had to be somebody who was in Krishna consciousness. This became very clear to me in the very beginning of my Krishna conscious years. So my husband and my brother, my devotee brother, his name is Veer Gopal. They were very good. They have been very good friends right since my brother joined ISKCON. In fact, my husband was in ISKCON, and then my brother and him met. So when we were in India, we knew that my brother has a very nice friend, and sometimes when my now husband, but then my brother's friend would come to India. Then he would come and visit the family.
So you really know him since...
well, but it was not in that way. It was like my brother's friend has come. So you know how Indian families are very welcoming. And
definitely.
Come home and have prasad, meet everybody, and tell us about my brother, how he's doing, like that. So that was there. But so I was clear that I wanted to marry a devotee only, and somehow this proposal came, So then my brother arranged it, and I
nice,
felt
yeah.
that, yes, this is Krishna's arrangement. So I have no reason to say no, because that is what I wanted, a devotee. And
someone your brother already knew, and the whole
Yes.
family had already met him. And yeah,
Yes.
that's really sweet. Yeah.
Yes.
And so he was not really a complete stranger or anything. Everybody knew him a little bit at least.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knew him a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm smiling and laughing, giggling, because initially my family was not in favor of marrying, so to speak, a devotee. Because they knew I was really leading this life, but they wanted me to get married to an engineer or a doctor,
Okay, yeah. Typical Indian.
Right, and kind of rightly so, because they just want to see, their child in a nice, comfortable situation, because they didn't know exactly what sort of life. When you're living a spiritual life, a Krishna conscious life, only you know how it is and what the facts, etc., are, and how things are. So there was initially some resistance, but now it is so that they dote over him and love him so much since many, many years, that sometimes I feel he gets more of the love and affection than I do.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign. That's good.
I'm just totally happy about that, because it's just the way my husband is as a person, So. Yeah, they took a very, very strong liking to him.
That's
very
really
quickly,
nice.
very
That's
quickly.
sweet. Yeah, when your family loves your husband so nicely, I mean, you'll be definitely very happy about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And for everyone over there also, we already have taken Prabhuji's interview, and Prabhuji's name is Bimal Krishna Prabhu, and his interview is also available on our YouTube channel. Next question is, what services were you doing when you joined
At
the temple?
manor? Yeah, so I was in the manor from, say, 94 beginning, 94 end, or say 95 beginning is when I began to really go regularly and chant as well, slowly chanting, because you were asking about that question. So yeah, I started chanting quickly, and then slowly I increased it. Yeah, I was, my weekends were free. So I was roped into, I remember initially in the early years, I was just, I would be doing the transfer service there, next to the altar of Radha Gokulananji, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanumanji. There are our Thakurs there. There's the transfer room, and it's a listed building given by George Harrison. So, you can't make changes to the temple. So I remember I would go into the transfer room, and there used to be a big, huge step that we would have to climb and go through the window, so to speak. So the transfer service was there. I just suddenly remember that. And then after doing the transfer for the deities, you wash the dishes and wipe them, and then you got to carry them out. I remember how I used to dread, oh my God, and that was on a Sunday, and I would dread, now the whole temple is packed, Kirtan is going on, I have to step out, I just hope I don't fall. I hope I don't fall. I just suddenly remember that when you asked. So there was a transfer service, and then I used to iron Prabhupada's clothes, because Prabhupada's quarters were upstairs. So I used to get to iron his week worth of clothes. So I did that for a few years, these two simple services, and Kirtan as well in the temple for the Sundays. We would get a chance to sing as well. And then slowly, one devotee who was also one of my mentors in the beginning, like Shruti Dharma Prabhu was there, and Pradyumna Prabhu, who is the temple president for the Leicester ISKCON.
Yeah.
He was the head of the Pandavasena. So he said to me that you need to be teaching. Stop all this ironing. Not in a bad way, but he was encouraging me, because there was a Sunday school we had called Krishna Club, and he wanted me to start teaching there as well. So it was run by two sisters. Before them, some other devotee was running it. Then these two sisters were running it, and then so then I got involved in teaching in the Sunday school. It wasn't my thing. I didn't want to do it, but then he really roped me into it. So then I gave into that. So that became one of my services as well.
That's nice. Yeah.
Teaching the younger kids, I think.
Teaching them about Krishna consciousness?
Yes,
or?
I mean this is a Sunday school called Krishna Club. It's still running, been running for many, many years, and it's basically all the congregational devotees' children, they would come. So the parents would come. They would attend the temple program, and the children would come and attend the Krishna Club Sunday school. So it's like a Krishna conscious school, full of fun, dramas and stories and philosophy, but all in a very kind of a way that the kids can understand. So filled with a lot of fun, and we would celebrate all the festivals as well. The Sunday school kids would also celebrate like Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, and like have their mini Janmashtami. We would have our stalls. So yeah, all that service was also there. So I was involved in that too. And yeah, so that was the manner. That was then the manner.
Before going ahead and asking other questions, one question from before. So, your nanny was so spiritually inclined, and she was doing her puja part and everything. And then, as you were growing up, you explored your own, like on your own Christianity and different things. And then you ended up again coming back to Krishna consciousness, which is, I mean, it's not like. It's not Lord Ram's worship, but it's still, I mean, Lord Ram is an avatar of Krishna, and they're all kind of, it's still like worshipping Lord Ram is also Sanatan Dharma. It's not anything apart from what we really do. We are worshipping Krishna, and she was worshipping Lord Ram. So how did you feel about that at the end of the day you are kind of back to the roots where how you grew up? I mean,
well, I kind of didn't connect it that way. I mean, because like I said, I was spiritually seeking anyway. So this was something that I wanted to do. And then I found what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be and spend the rest of my life in Krishna consciousness. So, I mean, so your question is that how did I feel coming back to something related to what my nani was doing?
Yeah. Did you feel like that it was like...
No, I didn't actually feel that. I mean, I kind of didn't make that connection maybe. It didn't feel like an alien thing to me, but from your question, what came into my kind of memory from past was that, this might make you laugh, Krishna was the last person I had any attraction to.
Okay.
Yes, I had no attraction to Krishna at all. There was not much talks about Krishna in the house. It was about Lord Ram and Hanumanji and Durga Devi.
Okay.
All the vrats were being kept, Naratte, etc. But my nani and her sister, because it was an extended joint family, so my nani, her sister, and her brother, they were all there, like in their houses, but we were all connected. So they once came to Vrindavan. And then they said, "Oh, hum Vrindavan gaye, Angrezon ke mandir gaye." Yes. And wahan pe hum mitti mein, they were rolling in the dust. They must have gone to Raman Reti and rolled in the dust. And I remember that they brought, those Mathura ke pede, which were the most delicious sweet ever. But I used to be like, Krishna, he's got so many girlfriends, so many wives. I would never want to have anything to do with him. I remember thinking like this.
Okay. So then it wasn't
And the irony
really,
is that...
Well, he got you too, huh?
He's the only one I want to know. I don't want to know anybody else. First it was like, he's the last person I want to know. I have nothing to do with him. Now it's like, I have nothing to do with anybody else. So only this trickster Krishna only knows how he gets us. So yeah, it's because of Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, the way he's explained everything. And it became very clear to me who the demigods are and who they are, but who are they in relation to Krishna? And who is the supreme, It is Krishna. And all the demigods are his servants, and that they do exist, they do have a place, but it's like, the prime minister and the cabinet ministers. And serving in Krishna Club really helped actually, because we used to have to make a lesson plan, we were asked to make a lesson plan, and one of the topics that I was teaching them was demigod worship. Demigods, basically, demigods. So I had to kind of educate when you've got to teach, you have to educate yourself. You're the first one. You're teaching yourself first and then the others. So doing that, there was a very beautiful booklet with Lord Shiva on the top, which was about demigod worship, written by some devotee in England. And that just made things so crystal clear for me. So it just increased my faith further and further. Just the philosophy, the way Prabhupada has given it, increased my faith so much more. It was like going step by step, deeper and stronger, and the foundation was getting stronger and stronger. And if I had questions, I would ask so many, and they were always very,
satisfactorily answered.
Yeah, they were always giving such wonderful answers to the heart satisfaction, So this did become then it just became clear that there is no doubt about it. And all the gurus I've had in my life, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, my husband's spiritual master, and then my own spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and hearing from them, and then hearing from all the devotees who would pass by through the manna. Luckily, I was in the manna. There were so many Prabhupada disciples. Spiritually, I grew up amongst them, and all the sannyasis, Maharajas who would pass through England, and they would give classes. So I got to hear so much. It was a very spiritually enlivening and enriching experience for me. So, yes, coming to Krishna consciousness, as if, it was just waiting for me. I was the one who needed to go to it. It was just waiting. That's how it felt to me, if I could put it that way.
Yeah, that's really nice. So you were working the entire time when you were there in England?
Yes. When I got there in 94, I registered with an agency, and because I was from a software kind of background, I got a job in 95 January. What was surprising was that England had been hit by recession at that time, so it was going through a very heavy recession period. So devotees and friends, they would ask me that, how come you got a job so quickly? People are being laid off. They're being made redundant, they're having to lose their jobs, but you just come and you just got your job just like this. And I was like, I don't know, must be Krishna, So I was getting to know through them that this is a surprising thing. For me, I didn't know that there was a recession going on or anything like that. So I was working in IT, in software, as a software analyst. And I did that from 95 to maybe 2000, 2001, 6-7 years. And then my spiritual life was moving on, and I got initiated in 2002 after a long wait. They wanted me to take initiation, but I was just waiting. And I then felt that traveling into London, I used to have to work on site before I got married. And when I got married, then I was working at the office before it was on site, So we used to have to go to different places making custom-tailored software for companies. So I then later found that that sort of lifestyle for me was a little bit too demanding, and I felt that now I wanted to give even more time to my spiritual life. So I didn't want to have to travel 3 hours a day. And in England, you've got to do everything yourself: the housework, cleaning, what have you, everything. Yeah. Being in India is a luxury. So there it's a little bit, it's a hard life in some ways, though you manage it all. And we would chant around, we would attend the temple programs and do all of this and, work. But then I felt that, Paramatma in my heart, I would say, was guiding me that I maybe need to change my career so that I can be closer. I don't have to travel so much and spend so much time. I used to do my japa, most of my japa on the train. But still, so then I, so to speak, materially speaking, demoted myself. Though I was doing very well. I began to work in London rather than, out of London. So that's helped save time. But then I felt that I wanted to be even closer to the manor. So the town that was local to us, I was living in Watford, Hertfordshire County, just a name. So then I remember I started working in a bank. As an account manager. Okay. It was a big change. It was a big, humongous change that I made. Just the people that I was working with, it's a different kind of a mindset of people. Before in IT, it's a different mindset of people. So that was a bit of an adjustment for me. But I used to, try to help people with their financial problems. And maybe I wasn't so good for the bank because they would want us to give loans and give them insurances. But if I felt that this was not right for the person, I would not.
So you were good for the people, but maybe not for the bank, huh?
No, I was okay for the bank also. I was still getting them business, but I was kind of like, I was using my own sense of discrimination rather than just kind of
That's nice.
convincing an innocent person to just take this up, just because I want the sales. I just didn't have the heart to do that. So I was very much, I got a lot of, affection from the customers. And my bank was also happy with it. But then it was sales oriented, so I found that quite pressurizing. So then I further demoted myself and went, and I say that with great pride, actually. I don't feel bad about that, because it was the most favorable thing for me to do spiritually. So my goal in life became, I'm not saying that when you're in Krishna consciousness you have to do these sort of things, but for me as a person, that is what was working best. And I could be more involved in the temple activities and services, go for book distributions and things like that as well, every now and then when I wanted to, and I could. And we used to go for preaching programs, my god sister, she would go to Norwich, so then she would ask me to go and give class there and do kirtans, and all those things really then opened up for me. So it was spiritually very, very beneficial. I remember we used to go to Glastonbury as well. A few times I went to Glastonbury, which is like a rock festival. All the big names in the music world, they come there, and then but that I did while I was still working in IT. So anyhow, but yes, I did change my line of work completely into a different thing, just so that I could get the balance that I was looking for. Being a householder and being a woman, you have a lot of house responsibilities.
Yes, definitely.
So for me to do that comfortably, I wanted to do what was favorable for my spiritual life, and I've tried to keep that principle in my life generally. So yeah, that's what I did. So then I was working till 2006. And then after that we shifted to India.
Jain,
to a Jain on His Holiness Bhakti Chiraswami Guru Maharaj's request. Yeah.
So how was your time in Jain?
It was beautiful, because I was away from the working life, and now it was as if a step further had happened. Now it was totally spiritual life, 100% full on. So it was a huge change, but it was the most, well-welcomed change, if that's the right English. I welcomed that change. I yearned for something like that. And me and my husband had made the decision that we would want to move to India in our later years in our life, but we didn't know that it was going to happen so soon. So when Maharaj asked my husband to come and serve in Ujjain temple as a temple president, and there were 2 other temple presidents as well, we just thought that this is our calling now, this is Krishna's arrangement. So we just quickly wound up our situation in England, and we just shifted, and it was just so wonderful there, just to be able to experience full-on temple life like that. So I completely loved it. It was very enlivening, very infusing, very enriching for me. I got to get involved in many services, for some period school and college preaching, and then there was a Sunday school that I was kind of roped into again, which was not exactly what I was thinking of. And I thought, okay, this service keeps coming to me, that Krishna wants me to do this. But then that was a wonderful experience. I mean, the kids were lovely. I had a very nice, loving relationship with them. I loved them. They loved me so much. And I did that for a good few years, 8-9 years. And then I handed it over to one of the girls who was part of
the school.
Yeah, she was part of the school, and then there was a youth group also that I started with Maharaj's blessings, and that's still going on. IASW, ISKCON Avanti Spiritual Warriors. So it's a girls' youth group. So then there was that service as well. So I got to do all these different services, and some Bhakti Vriksha, couple of Bhakti Vriksha classes a week, and some Bhagavad-Gita classes for the ladies. So it was like a full-on experience, and it was just the most incredible time of my life. Yes, it was wonderful for my husband also, and for me to see how he was very closely serving his Guru Maharaj. That was the most satisfying part of my tenure, my service, our stay in Ujjain, for me personally, to see that he got to do such wonderful, I say that with humility, like he got to serve his spiritual master so closely, being involved in all his projects and serving the way that Maharaj wanted him to, the things that he wanted him to do. So all of this, collectively, it was the most beautiful time. Yeah.
And then you moved to Vrindavan.
Yeah, then Maharaj, I think my husband mentioned this in his interview, that Maharaj was always very pioneering. So he wanted now the next generation to come and hold the reins in front of him of being temple presidents. And they were very qualified, very intelligent, enthusiastic, smart Vaishnavas, engineers and, CAs, etc., very qualified. So then my husband became free, though he was guiding them for some time. And then he became free, so then it was like, what's the next step sort of thing. So then Maharaj, there was a requirement over here for some service. I remember there was the autumn GBC meetings took place in Ujjain. And one fine evening of the meetings, Shivram Swami Maharaj comes out and he hugs my husband like this and he says, "I heard, Bimal, you're going to India." And my husband's like, "Really? I don't know anything about this."
To India?
No, going to Vrindavan, sorry. You're going to Vrindavan. And my husband's saying, "Really, Maharaj? I don't know." So in the meeting they had a discussion, and there was a service requirement here for the child protection team. And Bhakti Swami Guru Maharaj said, "I know just the right person for this." So he proposed Prabhuji's name, and all the Maharajas there, like we know Maharaj from England, all the sannyasis, a lot of them. So we're very fortunate to kind of had that relationship with them from in the beginning years at ISKCON in England. So then they were saying yes. They were all seconding that, and so that's how that happened, and that's why we came in 2006 we moved to Ujjain. So 2016, 2017, I'm mixing numbers. I think it was 2017 that we moved. Yeah, we came to Vrindavan, and we just came with a week worth of clothes. But then Radharani kept us here for 1 month. So we saw that as an indication that maybe that is what's going to happen. So then since after that, then we just went back, packed up, and then we just shifted to Vrindavan.
And how have you liked it over here?
No words to express. I feel very undeserving, yet I feel extremely humbled by and grateful, humbled by, the love of their lordships, could I say, and grateful to be here. When me and my husband were planning kind of what we're going to do later, we would like to move to India. We thought that, okay, so this is what we'll do. We'll move to Delhi. Like we have my mother-in-law's place is there in Delhi, family home. So we would move there. And maybe on the weekends we'll be able to come to Vrindavan. How nice that would be. And we'll be going to the Delhi temple, but maybe on the weekends we would be able to come. And we were just excited just by that. I mean, we didn't think in our wildest dreams that this would happen. So as much as it was a very cherished, secret desire, we never knew that this would happen. So when even to date, Champaklata, I thank the Lord for allowing me to wake up in Vrindavan, and I hope I don't get emotional. And I pray to all the lordships that please let us live and die in Vrindavan, and may we never have to leave, and engage us in service. So.
And we pray that too, so that we can have your association for all the coming years.
I don't know what good my association is, but just being here amongst all the devotees and just, observing, seeing all the devotees, how they are, how they do their services, how they are just with each other, and what love they have for their lordships. It's beautiful beyond words and inspiring beyond words. So, I mean, who doesn't want to, the whole world craves to come to Vrindavan. You know, I remember when we were in England, we would like be saving our holidays because we want to be able to come to India and do parikrams and visit Vrindavan. My Guru Maharaj, Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he would hold parikrams. A lot of our annual parikrams, Kartik parikrams, used to be in Vrindavan and Mayapur also, but Vrindavan was a big highlight. So I cannot express, you know. Yeah, I'm just
The bliss
very
that you
grateful.
feel over here. Huh?
very, very grateful and very happy to be here.
So I guess there's no point of asking future plans, right? Your future plans are to stay here.
You got it. Yes. To live here, to die here, and to serve here, and learn how to become, you know, a devotee in this holy dham. And that is my future plan. I'm just trying to learn how to become a devotee still. So I beg everybody's blessings for that because, yes, yeah, just to stay in Vrindavan, that's all.
So a few more questions before we finish.
Sure.
So what is your personal favorite limb of bhakti? There are many, Rupa Goswami has mentioned many different limbs of bhakti. There are 64 limbs of bhakti. So which one is your personal favorite?
For me, I feel Shravanam. I love hearing lectures. I love hearing kirtans. I love asking questions and I love hearing the answers because it helps my heart open more and more, you know, and it brings more clarity for me. So for me, the Shravanam and kirtan as well. And what else can I say? You know, having loving relationships with devotees also, I consider that a very important part. So, and living in the dham, you know, and going for parikrams. I may be answering out of the 64 limbs of bhakti, but being Mathuravas is also.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
five of the most important limbs of bhakti are living in the dham, and then kirtan and hearing Bhagavatam and hearing.
Right, yes, and
Yeah,
Vandanam
associating.
also. I'm a big believer of prayer. Big believer of prayer. I have seen prayers work miracles. It's my way of, you know, it's like a communication with their lordships. So it's my personal time, one-to-one with them. Of course, the japa also. And to me, to be able to, you know, like I'm talking with you, you know, I'm not saying that I talk with the Lord, but yes, I do. You do. We all do. So prayer also, for me, is another very beautiful limb. So...
Are there any special stories or remembrances when you prayed something and the Lord really reciprocated immediately or soon or...
Well, somehow this is coming to mind, and I don't know whether that directly connects, but I remember once going through a tough, challenging time while I was in England, in the manor. So anything that happens in life actually is to teach us something. So I remember so it was a very testing time. And we're a growing organization, so sometimes situations do arise, and it's part of the kind of growing process, really. So one must go through certain experiences which may seem hard, because there's a certain test hidden in there which has been custom tailor-made for you by their lordships. That's how I have felt always. So there was one such particular time that we were experiencing, and it was a very challenging time. And I remember that so many devotees were giving different kinds of advices of how to go about it. But I just knew in my heart that we're only going to do what is favorable for our spiritual life, and we're not going to do what is not favorable. We will reject that. So my Guru Maharaj was asking me how I am, because he knew what was happening. So, and I'll try to connect this to your question. Throughout that period, I was really praying to the lordships. And the devotees were seeing that so much has happened, but she's just... Krishna was doing this. The ability in man is coming from Krishna and by the blessings of the Guru and the Vaishnavas. So I was still just being rock solid, strong, going to the temple every day, not withdrawing myself, and I'm going to see my Radha Gokulananda. Nothing can stop that. Nothing can come in between me and him. Everything else, whatever is happening, is like, let it be. So I was praying to him a lot, and to give guidance of how to deal with this situation without going into details. And it so happened that my Guru Maharaj was visiting England, and then he asked me, because he knew everything, so he asked me, how are you? And all I said to him was, Maharaj, for the first time, I'm actually realizing your instruction, how every obstacle really is an opportunity for much spiritual advancement. So I had been praying for guidance, and Krishna in the heart was giving me the intelligence to apply this instruction now. Now is the time you've got to apply this. I custom tailor-made this situation for you, so this is the instruction you need to apply now. And then my Guru Maharaj said to me, he said something really beautiful back. He said, if you continue like this, he was very pleased. And he said, if you continue like this, and I'm saying this to glorify him, not to glorify me. He said, if you continue like this, Yamuna Priya, your spiritual life will blossom. And just that 2 sentences of an interaction just took everything, all the pain, everything away from me. And so miracles happened. Because after that, the heart was aching, it was bleeding, it was in pain. But Krishna had made his own arrangements. So certain devotees were coming and giving lectures. And you know that when lectures going on, this lecture was just for me.
Yeah.
This is the question I had, and I'm getting the answer. And all that I needed to get through it was being arranged by Krishna through lectures and just through hearing those classes as if they were just for me. So, yes, that was one instance. And prayers also. My eldest brother once became very sick. And he was really sick. He had an edema, like a sort of a tumor in his neck. So I requested Pankajangri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu for some Nrsingadev worship in Mayapur. And now Prabhuji is not with us, but we have all been hearing since he left that how much he served the devotees by doing so much puja for them, So, and I was praying to Nrsingadev and he did the puja. And then my brother became well. So maybe these 2 things I can remember.
Yeah, so Krishna really does reciprocate to all the prayers that the devotees have.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, it is actually very amazing.
Yes, I mean, that's what makes my faith grow stronger, because this process is so scientific that they say you do this and we do it. And I do see the result. And then you do more and you see the result further. So it only just deepens the faith more and just grips you even more. So, yes, there is so much power in prayer. So, yeah.
So the last question before we end is that how would you advise the viewers who are watching the interview about how to advance in our spiritual life? What should one do to progress?
Are the viewers devotees or they are
Could be mixed, yeah.
How can we advance in our spiritual life? Oh, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question, but I think one has to be a sincere seeker. Sincerity is very important. And advancing would mean that, say for instance, if you wanted to study a subject, you would have to go to an authorized, prestigious kind of institute which would teach that subject to you. So to the viewers who are kind of maybe spiritually inclined or are new, I would say that, choose very carefully where you go. Like you wouldn't go to any place for your education. You will find the best place, which is maybe most reputed and prestigious. So likewise also for your spiritual life, be very, very choosy. Because for material things, there's plenty of things out there. There's plenty of places which can also con us, cheat us. But you can recover from that. You may have a material, monetary pinch at that time. But when it comes to spiritual life, if you're cheated and that thing does go, there are cases, we hear so much in the news. There are cases where people are spiritually cheated. So for the beginners, I would say be very careful. There are 4 sampradayas. You should go to one of them. We're a Brahma Madhava Vaishnava Gaudiya Sampradaya. Then there is the Rudra Sampradaya. Then there's the Shri Sampradaya. Then there's the Kumar Sampradaya. So these are the 4 bona fide, so do your homework, get the facts right, and just don't sentimentally kind of join some spiritual line. That's one thing. And I don't know if I'm qualified for devotees who are already practicing, but I feel that to grow spiritually, one needs to really be true to oneself. Connect with yourself as an individual. This is not an artificial, forced upon path. It's a very natural process, which means that everything you have, you can use that for pleasing Krishna. Like, I'm waiting for when Champaklata Mataji's interview will take place. And
that's never going to happen.
It will be an honor for me if you
that's
allow.
That's not going to happen, but anyway.
So I would take Champaklata Mataji's example. She's very qualified.
Please don't.
Talent.
Please don't.
Now it's your turn. She's a wonderful Odissi dancer. She sings, she cooks, bakes amazingly. She's a beautiful artist.
I should go and run away and hide somewhere.
Things. And now she's doing this beautiful service. So she's using everything in Krishna's service. And all the devotees are so happy. And they're just showering her with blessings, maybe without her even knowing. So she's just blossoming more and more. So
it's all because of the mercy of all the devotees and Srila Prabhupada. It's because the devotees are blessing me. That is why anything is happening at all.
Sure, but my point to everybody is that when you are gifted with something, use those talents in Krishna's service. Actually, that's the point I wanted to make. So whatever we have, we should use it. And please believe that we should believe in ourselves also. This is another one thing that, we have to have, sometimes we go through a lot of internal struggles. So for devotees also, don't just struggle with them alone. Find a confidant. It is so important. For my life, it has been so helpful to have devotees who I could go to and speak to. Sometimes devotees just struggle by themselves. And even for others also, one should have a confidant that you can speak to and get advice from. So that is also there. And just get in touch with your inner self, and whatever you have, use that to please Krishna. Engage that in, if it's your singing, if it's your dancing, if it's cooking, or if it's painting, whatever talents you have, if it's accounting. But get a balance in life. You got to have your material life, and you have to have your spiritual life. A train has to be on 2 tracks. If it was on one, it would fall over. So like that, this life also, it's a journey, and we're all in our individual compartments in a train, and the train is going in one direction, and actually maybe we're in the same compartment, but so you have to do your material life and your spiritual life also. Both are needed. So to take care of you, who is the body and the soul. So both things are needed, and one should have a nice spiritual routine. Is very, very important. The morning program is so critical. I've had a lot of health issues right from my childhood, and I still do have my ups and downs. And I know that when I'm not able to attend the morning program, what it does to me, how it affects me. And when I am, by now Krishna's mercy, I kind of managed to restart, and what it does then. So it's a world of difference. So Prabhupada made this system of the morning program, getting up early in the Brahma Muhurat, in that sacred time, offering your time and your energy, connecting with Krishna by chanting, and the whole morning program, the aartis and the Tulsi Puja and the class, and right till that point, that forms a very, very strong basis for one's spiritual life. And it brings about so much auspiciousness and so much happiness, because this inside, the soul is getting its food. You can have everything material, but if your soul is empty, it's not fed, it's not nourished, and the soul's food is different. It's spiritual, the soul is spiritual, so its food is also spiritual. So if that is there, then you feel happy inside. Because we know too well there are people outside in the world who have everything material.
Still no satisfaction.
There's no satisfaction. In fact, you saying that reminds me of Mick Jagger, a big rock star who used to say, I can't get no satisfaction. You know, he's got everything, but not getting the satisfaction, you know. So, yes, I think maybe I could just, kind of leave it at that.
Thank you very much. That's really amazing. It's always such a pleasure. It's always such an amazing thing to get to know the devotees' stories, and can be a big inspiration for many people. Who knows? There might be someone who just needed something which you said right now, or which can help them in their life. So really, association
uses me
with
as an instrument. I'm happy. But I'm also very thankful and very honored to, for you kind of like inviting me to speak, and I was very kind of avoiding it, I think, initially. But this was very, very sweet. I enjoyed my time as well.
Well, we are very happy that you enjoyed it as well, and so did I. And I hope all the devotees over there watching also enjoyed our interview today. So thank you very much once again for giving us your time.
My pleasure.
And we would like to ask all the devotees to join us again next week for our next interview with another wonderful devotee. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.